Two of the fundamental principles underlying the rules of golf are you play your ball as it lies, and you play the course as you find it. The rules, however, make an exception to these principles when an abnormal ground condition interferes with your lie, stance, area of your intended swing, or your line of putt. Abnormal ground conditions come in three types. 1. Ground under repair, an area usually marked with a white painted line. 2. Casual water, a visible but temporary accumulation of water anywhere on the course except in a water hazard. And 3. Reptile, bird, and burrowing animal holes, and the casts of dirt and runways associated with them. While the rules allow you to play your ball from an abnormal ground condition, if you want to take relief, a two-step procedure is involved. The first step is to determine the spot the rules call the nearest point of relief. The second step is to determine the area within one club length of the nearest point of relief, not nearer the hole, then lift and drop your ball within that area. Marking the location of the nearest point of relief and measuring the one club length dropping area are good practices to follow, but are not required by the rules. The one place where the two-step procedure changes slightly is when a ball is on the putting green. This recently sodded area has been declared to be ground under repair and interferes with this player's line of putt. Step 1, the player determines the nearest point of relief where the sodded area no longer interferes with his play. And Step 2, the player places his ball at the nearest point of relief. The rules include some exceptions to the treatment of abnormal ground conditions as just reviewed. If one applies, you cannot take free relief. The two that occur most frequently are: there is no free relief when interference from an abnormal ground condition occurs only because you use an unnecessarily abnormal stance, swing, or direction of play. And when your ball is in a water hazard, you are not entitled to free relief regardless of where the abnormal ground condition is.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
In golf, you play a ball from the teeing ground to the hole with a progression of strokes while playing the ball as it lies and playing the course as you find it. Unfortunately, when you lose your ball or hit it out of bounds, this progression gets interrupted, and the rules of golf are needed to provide a reliable, fair procedure to re-establish it. Because the location of a ball that has not been found can't be determined precisely, and a ball that goes out of bounds has no location on the course, the fairest way to re-establish the tee-to-hole progression when either of these things happens is to play again from where you last played. This procedure is called playing under stroke and distance. When you proceed under penalty of stroke and distance, if your previous stroke was from the teeing ground, you count the stroke you made with the ball you lost or hit out of bounds, add a penalty stroke to your score, and play another ball from anywhere within the teeing ground. The ball you play may be teed. If your stroke was from the fairway, the rough, or a hazard, you count the previous stroke, add a penalty stroke, and drop a ball as near as possible to the spot where you last played. Stroke and distance is the only option the rules allow when your ball is out of bounds. And it is the only option when your ball is lost, except when your ball is lost in a water hazard. When this situation occurs, stroke and distance is one of your options, but not the only one. Water hazard options are reviewed in another video in this series.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
While it doesn't happen often, occasionally your ball will wind up in a position where you realize it's impossible to play it, or where you think it's just not a good idea to try. In such cases, the rules provide you the right to decide your ball is unplayable. The rules make you the sole judge of whether your ball is unplayable. No one is allowed to deny or contest your right to do this. And you can decide your ball is unplayable anywhere on the course, except for one, when it is in a water hazard, where the water hazard rule applies. When you decide your ball is unplayable, for a penalty of 1 stroke, you have 3 choices for how to get it somewhere else where you can play it. The best known and most frequently used of these choices is to drop a ball within 2 club lengths of, and not nearer the hole than, the spot where your unplayable ball lies. You can use any club in your bag to measure the 2 club lengths. Most people use their longest club to make their dropping area as big as possible. The ball you drop can be either your original or a substituted ball. Your second option is to drop behind your unplayable ball in a straight line drawn from the hole through the spot where it lies. When you use this choice, you can drop as far behind your ball's original position as you want. Your third option is to play again from where you made your last stroke. The rules call this playing under stroke and distance. This player's shot has ended in a very bad lie. Dropping it within 2 club lengths, or on a line from the hole behind the ball, will probably not improve his chances to play it. Proceeding under stroke and distance is the best way for this player to be confident his next stroke will be one he can play. If your ball in a bunker is unplayable, and you choose to drop it within 2 club lengths, or on a straight line from the hole behind your ball, you are limited to dropping it in the bunker. When you decide your ball is unplayable, being aware of all 3 of your choices will help you pick the best one available. There is no one choice that is always the best, because the position of your ball and other factors can vary so greatly.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
Two fundamental principles underlie the rules of golf. They are you play the course as you find it, and you play your ball as it lies. The rules, however, make an exception to these principles by providing relief without penalty when an immovable obstruction interferes with your play. Immovable obstructions are artificial objects, which, though they may be present for a good reason, are not meant to interfere with your playing of the game. Immovable obstructions a golfer could encounter during a round include things permanently fixed in place, like cart paths and sprinkler heads, as well as objects like this divot mix box that can be moved only with a lot of effort, or if doing so could cause damage or unduly delay play. You are entitled to relief without penalty from an immovable obstruction, like this drain, only when it directly interferes with at least one of the following: your lie, area of intended stance, or area of intended swing. While the rules allow you to play your ball from an obstruction, if you choose to take relief, a 2-step procedure is involved. The first step is to determine the spot not closer to the hole the rules call the nearest point of relief. For this player, that is a point behind the drain. The second step is to determine the area within 1 club length of the nearest point of relief, that is not nearer to the hole. Then lift and drop your ball within that area. While marking the location of the nearest point of relief and measuring the 1 club length dropping area are not required by the rules, they are good practices to follow. Dropping within 1 club length of the nearest point of relief is always what you'll do when you take relief from an immovable obstruction, except when your ball is on the putting green. In preparing to play from the putting green, this player's stance is interfered with by a sprinkler head. His 2-step relief procedure is 1. To determine his nearest point of relief, and 2. To simply place his ball at the nearest point of relief. The rules include several exceptions to the general treatment of immovable obstructions, as just reviewed. If one applies, you cannot take free relief. The 2 that occur most frequently are There is no free relief when interference from an immovable obstruction occurs only because you use a stance, swing, or direction of play that is unnecessarily abnormal. And when your ball is in a water hazard, you are not entitled to relief from an immovable obstruction. No matter where the obstruction is, you either have to play your ball as it lies or take it out of the hazard with a penalty.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
One of the fundamental principles underlying the rules of golf is you must play the course as you find it, and you are not permitted to alter it in order to improve your line of play, or the area of your intended stance or intended swing. The rules, however, make an exception to this principle when it comes to the treatment of loose impediments. Loose impediments may be moved without penalty, even if doing so improves one of those areas. Loose impediments are natural objects, things that are normally and naturally present on golf courses. What distinguishes loose impediments from all other natural objects is that they have become detached and are therefore somewhat out of place. Fallen leaves, loose stones, broken off twigs, pine cones and pine needles, and tree branches are loose impediments commonly encountered on golf courses. While loose impediments may be removed without penalty, that doesn't mean they can be removed entirely without risk. If moving a loose impediment causes your ball to move, you incur a penalty of 1 stroke and must replace the ball to its original location, so be careful when touching or removing loose impediments close to your ball. This player has a large loose impediment interfering with the area of his intended swing and his line of play. He incurs no penalty for moving it out of his way, as long as he doesn't cause his ball to move. Nothing in the rules prevents him from getting help to move it. The rules include 3 exceptions to the general treatment of loose impediments as just reviewed. One is generous, the other 2 involve penalties. Exception 1. Since a ball on the putting green may be marked and lifted and loose impediments removed without penalty, there is also no penalty when a ball left on the green moves as a result of removing a loose impediment, as long as the ball is replaced. Exception 2. Loose impediments may not be touched or moved when your ball and the loose impediment lie in or touch the same bunker or same water hazard. If you do, you will breach the loose impediment rule. A loss of hole penalty in match play and a 2-stroke penalty in stroke play. Exception 3. When a ball is in motion, loose impediments that might influence the movement of that ball must not be removed. Doing so is a loss of hole penalty in match play and a 2-stroke penalty in stroke play.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
Two fundamental principles underlie the rules of golf. They are, you play the course as you find it, and you play your ball as it lies. The rules, however, make an exception to these principles by providing relief without penalty when an obstruction, which is movable, interferes with your play. Obstructions are artificial objects, whether present for a good reason or due to neglect. They are not meant to interfere with your playing of the game. An obstruction is considered movable if, like this rake, it can be moved without a lot of effort, delaying play or causing damage. Likewise with this 150-yard marker, because it can be moved quickly and without damage, even though it takes some effort. A movable obstruction, no matter where it is, such as this tee bothering this player's stance, may be moved out of the way without penalty. Movable obstructions can even be moved if they don't physically interfere with your lie, stance, swing, or line of play. as this player's doing with this pencil that's catching her eye while she addresses her ball. In most cases, relief from a movable obstruction is simple. Just move the obstruction and play your ball as it lies. Occasionally, however, when you move an obstruction, your ball will move as a result. If it does, there is no penalty as long as you replace it. You are not required to mark your ball before moving a movable obstruction, but it's a good practice to follow, so you'll know where to replace it if it does. In the infrequent case that your ball is entirely on or in a movable obstruction without touching the golf course, like this ball on top of a rake, lift your ball, move the obstruction out of the way, and drop it as near as possible to the spot directly underneath where it originally was. Not all artificial objects that can be moved are obstructions. White stakes used to mark out of bounds are not considered obstructions. The rules consider them fixed, and there is a penalty if you move one because it interferes with your play. You'll either have to adapt your swing to play your ball as it lies, or take relief under penalty.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
There are two circumstances when the rules of golf require you to play under penalty of stroke and distance. One, when your ball is lost, and two, when it is out of bounds. Often, until you have gone forward to look around, you don't really know if your ball is out of bounds,
I'm going to hit a provisional.
or if it won't be found. To avoid the delay of going forward, then back, the rules permit you to play a second ball conditionally under stroke and distance before you go forward to find out what has happened to your original ball. This is called playing a provisional ball. There are two things you have to do for a second ball to be treated as a provisional ball.
I'm going to hit a provisional ball.
Before you play it, you have to tell another person in your group that you're going to play a provisional ball. And you have to play it before you go forward to search. If you don't, the rules assume the second ball is your ball in play under stroke and distance, and your original ball is considered lost. After playing your original and a provisional ball, which ball do you continue playing? If you find your original ball in bounds within the 5-minute allowable search period, then finish playing the hole with your original ball. You can continue with your provisional ball in two cases. When your original ball is out of bounds, or if it is lost. Many players are confused about whether they are allowed to play a provisional ball if their original ball might be lost in a water hazard. The answer has two parts. You may not play a provisional ball if you have hit your original ball toward a water hazard and aren't sure whether you will find it solely because it might be lost in the hazard. However, when a hole has a water hazard and an adjoining area that is not part of the water hazard and you hit your original ball toward those areas, if you think there is a chance your original ball might be lost in the adjoining area, then the rules permit you to play a provisional ball.
Provisional.
In such a case, if you find your original ball within 5 minutes somewhere outside of the water hazard, continue playing the original and abandon the provisional. If you determine your original is lost in the adjoining area that is not in the water hazard, then play the provisional ball. If you can't determine where your original ball is, maybe in the adjoining area, maybe in the water hazard, then play the provisional ball. But if you determine your original ball is in the water hazard, whether or not you find it, abandon the provisional ball and either play the original ball as it lies or take relief from the water hazard, using any of the options reviewed in the water hazard video in this series.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
In golf, the primary use of the flagstick is to show players the location of the hole when they're too far away to see it otherwise. Another use for the flagstick is as a backstop to help stop a ball near the hole and maybe even to help it go in the hole. When is hitting the flagstick permitted and when is it a penalty? When do the rules allow players to remove the flagstick and when are they allowed to leave it in the hole? A player may remove the flagstick from the hole or have it removed before the play of any stroke, whether the stroke is played from the putting green or from some other place. If the flagstick has been removed in order for one player to play, it may, at the choice of the player who is to play next, be left out of the hole or put back in the hole. There are times when a player may want the flagstick in the hole while they make a stroke, then taken out of the hole before the ball reaches it. The rules permit this and call this having the flagstick attended. Players may have the flagstick attended no matter where their stroke is played. Most frequently, players have this done when putting from a long distance or when chipping or pitching to the putting green. Having the flagstick attended must be arranged before a stroke is made, not after making a stroke while a ball is in motion. There are 4 times when it is against the rules for your ball to hit the flagstick. The first 3 are penalties no matter where your stroke is played. 1. When the flagstick is being attended. 2. When it is somewhere other than in the hole when your stroke is made. 3. While the rules allow you to have the flagstick held up above the hole to indicate the hole's position before and when you play, it is a penalty if your ball hits the held up flagstick. 4. It is also a penalty to hit the flagstick when it is unattended in the hole, but in this case, only when your stroke is played from the putting green. In all 4 cases, the penalty is loss of hole in match play and 2 strokes in stroke play. Hitting a flagstick when it is in the hole and unattended is permitted, as long as your stroke is played from somewhere other than the putting green. For example, when you chip or putt from off the putting green, as Tom Watson did in the final round of the 1982 US Open to help secure his victory. When you play from a bunker, as Birdie Kim did to win the 2005 US Women's Open. And when you play a full shot into the green, as Jack Nicklaus did in 1972 with his 1-iron tee shot on the 71st hole en route to his 3rd US Open victory.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
Just about everyone who plays golf has hit their ball into a water hazard and needed to take a penalty stroke to get it out. The rules of golf recognize 2 different kinds of water hazards. Those defined with a yellow line or yellow stakes, commonly referred to as regular water hazards, and those defined with a red line or red stakes, called lateral water hazards. If your ball is in a regular water hazard, you have 2 choices of how to take it out with a penalty stroke. If your ball is in a lateral water hazard, you have 4 choices. When your ball goes in a regular water hazard, for a penalty of 1 stroke, you can drop a ball behind the hazard anywhere on a straight line drawn from the hole through the spot where your ball crossed over the hazard's yellow margin as it went in. When using this choice, you are allowed to drop as far behind the water hazard as you want. Your second choice is to play again from where you just played. This is referred to as playing under stroke and distance. Since this player just played from the teeing ground, in choosing to play under stroke and distance, he may either place or tee his ball anywhere in the teeing ground. When your ball goes in a lateral water hazard, you have 4 ways to get it out for a penalty of 1 stroke. 2 of these choices are the same ones you have for getting your ball out of a regular water hazard. 1. You can play under stroke and distance. Since this player just played from the fairway, he must drop a ball as close as possible to where he made his last stroke, but not nearer the hole. And 2. You can drop a ball behind the lateral water hazard anywhere on a straight line drawn from the hole through the spot where your ball crossed over the hazard's red margin as it went in. The third choice is the one players most frequently use. You can drop a ball within 2 club lengths of and not nearer the hole than where your ball crossed over the hazard's red margin as it went in. Your fourth choice is to find a spot the same distance from the hole as where your ball crossed over the hazard's red margin that is on the opposite side of the hazard and drop a ball within 2 club lengths of that spot, not nearer the hole. In addition to the 2 choices you have to get your ball out of a regular water hazard and the 4 choices you have from a lateral water hazard, you are also allowed to play your ball from a water hazard with no penalty stroke as long as you are careful not to ground your club or touch the water with it before you make your stroke. When your ball is in a water hazard, being aware of all your choices will help you pick the best one available to you. There is no choice that is always the best because water hazards and other factors can vary so greatly.
For more information, please refer to usga.org or the Rules of Golf book, which contains a single set of rules worldwide.
Every once in a while, the PGA Tour is greeted by a furry friend or a feathered fan, and sometimes an angry alligator that steals the spotlight. Here's the top 10 animal encounters on the PGA Tour.
We've figured out our next big break challenge. We'll call it the Swarm. See if you could strike a putt with killer bees in the area.
Look at these golfers. Hit the deck, incoming. Incoming Yellow Jackets.
Oh, what a moment. You just don't see that every day.
We'll take a look at this duck trying to chase down Chesson Hadley's golf ball. He's trying to get out of there. So Josh's caddy decided to dispatch of this duck like the UCLA Bruins did my Oregon Ducks from the Pac-12 championship. Look at this. How about a little crunchy granola bar? There you go.
That's excellent course management right there by the caddy, isn't it?
Over at the 16th, Andrew Luke getting a look at that, the iguana trying to eat his ball at 16.
Come on, push it back to the hole. We've seen the Seagull at the TPC. Steve Lowry, 1998 Seagull at 17, picked up the ball, tried to fly off, dropped it right in the lake. Look at this little fella run.
Look what our camera captured just a short time ago, a falcon or hawk or whatever it is developing an affection for one of our microphones. He is bound and determined to haul that thing off, but he just can't get it from the tethered spot where it's at. And look, he's mad. Look at the look on his face.
I think it's a red-tailed mouse, but doesn't taste that, polyester doesn't taste that great.
That'll ruffle your feathers. Had enough of this. I'm out of here.
Talk about an up-close and personal experience with nature. That's Davis Love III, flirting with disaster.
He's trying to take a picture of it. He's got his camera on his mobile phone.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Oh, check it. Oh, this poor fella hasn't got an arm. He hasn't got a leg.
Tripod, they call him, I think.
Yeah,
Is that the famous alligator
he's the
here?
famous one.
Over to 16.
Danny, this is the turtle that was going the other direction earlier in the day.
Everybody's like, don't jump, don't jump.
Well,
don't do it. I'm going in.
Yeah, he's going for it.
Oh, that was a beauty.
Let's take a look at this in super slow-mo.
You know, we need our Olympic diving analyst Cynthia Potter here with us to score this. You know, he was a little short on the landing, Gary.
Splash was way too big.
Splash way too big. That's going to cost him.
Good play with a 2-shot lead, a good play. It's not close to the hole, but it's on the surface.
It's closest to the turtle, though. Are you kidding me? The turtle getting the reaction from the crowd.
He might lay a few eggs alongside it.
This is a tough group. There you go.
But usually, yeah.
That's what I think of you.
It's the Turtles moment on national TV. And, well, I guess if nature is going to visit, nature might as well call.
There's a ball down there. Looks like it belongs to Brian Gay.
That's the alligator coming.
But there's also an alligator down there. That's Kip Henley, Brian Gay's caddy. This was the situation. Oh my, look at that. Trying to get the alligator out of the way. Kip Henley, you are earning your pay this week, pal.
That's amazing. He's a brave.
He's still not going anywhere at this point. That's above and beyond the call of duty for a tour caddy.
Wait a minute. There's Davis Love. Sammy the Squirrel is Lindsey Vonchek. Don't turn around. Don't turn around. He's like, what the heck? What do you got? How can we cut away from that?
Let's go over to Gary Koch. I think, we have a new hazard at 17. Look at this. I believe that's the ball of Steve Lowry, and this seagull is, he wants to take it home for a souvenir. I mean, look at this. He's moved it all around the green. Now he whoop. Yep, we've got it. We have liftoff. Oh, no!
Does that count as an official ball in the water?
I don't know. I think it was safely on land at one point.